Today, in our continuing black and white photography master series, I am pleased to present Ms. Kathleen Fischer. She touched her first camera at the age of 17 and has been obsessed with the process of taking and making photographs ever since. She taught photography at the high school and junior college level for over 30 years, and now, along with her husband, runs FischerFineArt.com. As a landscape photographer, she is drawn to both the epic grandeur of vast spaces and the subtle topography of local venues. On a philosophical level, photography has allowed her to, as environmentalist Edward Abbey said, take great walks to shed an entrenched existence for a new beginning. It is a reason for her to head to new locations, slow down, pull over, and set up to enjoy the luxury of fine light. And that is truly something. Hey, this is Jim Horn, and we've got another black and white photography master series photographer. And today we have with us Kathleen Fischer, as it says down in the logo right under her. Kathleen, how are you doing today, young lady?
Great, thanks.
You okay? Well, Kath, we've got a special treat today. I had seen a lot of Kathleen's work in black and white photography, a magazine. I don't know how widely it's distributed, but it's a good black and white magazine. And the images I had seen were not necessarily these, but apparently Kathleen does a lot of work in infrared, and I think this is some beautiful stuff I want to talk about because it's a little bit different than just your standard black and white. And so, Kathleen, this black and white work that we're going to be showing the viewers. How long have you been, this infrared? Excuse me. How long have you been doing this infrared photography?
You know what? I've been doing it for decades. It's just changed. It's just morphed into something different with digital. I taught high school photography, digital dark, not a classic chemical darkroom, for 34 years, and we had virtually no money to run the program, but the kids used cameras that cost $5.99 at Target, but they had a perfect f-stop and shutter speed that if you used a gel from the theater department and taped it over the front, you got absolutely exquisite infrared images if you developed them in D19. Anyway, it was a real mainstay of the photo program and in my own personal work because I used to think what I taught, I used to say, it's about the closest thing to magic you're ever going to find. And then when you add the extra elixir of infrared, you've really magicked squared. You know, it was just mesmerizing, and the kids took to it, and I've always taken to it. And when I went digital, I was thinking that my days of infrared are over because I wasn't thrilled with the early results that I saw of digital infrared, but it's gotten great and it's still magical and still in a lovely way, really iffy. You're not totally sure what you're going to get, what gremlins are going to show up in your image. So I just love it for that reason. It doesn't allow you to be persnickety. It doesn't allow you to be too terribly strict. You know, you have to kind of go with the flow. So I've been doing it. I probably shot my first infrared roll in the early 70s. And
Okay. So, So I take it you had a digital camera converted over to infrared.
no,
Oh, okay.
actually, as of a week ago Tuesday, yes, I just got a digital camera converted. But up until a week ago Tuesday, I was using filters and a cable release and a Hoya infrared filter on the front of my camera, which you can't see through. And, it and I kind of liked the deliberateness of having to go through all those steps. But then the last trip we were on to the Badlands, like 3 weeks ago, I thought, oh, come on, we've got to make this a teeny bit easier. So I popped for the in-camera infrared sensor and
Okay.
go from here. See how that goes.
Well, super. These images are phenomenal. Let's start taking a look at the first one. Why don't you tell us where you took this image? And I mean, you'd swear this was a converted camera, and this is really great. I mean, where was this shot?
This was shot in the Badlands, just to the south of the Badlands, on a road that has another outcropping, which I've always loved, called Dead Dog Butte. And I was photographing there, and as we were driving past, I saw this was the night of the supermoon, blue moon,
Uh-huh.
and the fact that it was a 3-minute exposure. It's kind of hard to see this small, but there are cows moving in and out and giving this ghost-like appearance of you know ghost cows, so I got 3 images off before they took off on their own. But I just really like the fact that I think an awful lot of photography is storytelling, and I think infrared allows you to tell stories visually that lend themselves to the written word also. And I thought this was an interesting story to be told, the old
Uh,
ghost riders in the sky.
yeah, you're not kidding. Oh, wow. 3-minute exposures. Wow.
Yeah, yeah.
Wow.
You-
The next
Which
one
allows
is,
things to change, you start out with one thing, and then by the end of the 3 minutes, things can really change greatly.
now this photograph I had seen on your Instagram posting. And for those in the audience watching, this is really unique. For those listening, I would suggest to come on over to the YouTube channel and take a look. What these are flowers, obviously. Is this? Why don't you describe this for us?
These are sunflowers. This was also just off the beaten track in the Badlands, and the the thing. One of the things I like about long exposures and 3-minute exposures is the quiet. It forces you to meditate on what you're doing, and these were kind of past their freshness date sunflowers. They were, I'm sure they were going to be harvested momentarily, but it was about 7 in the morning, and you could hear there was a coyote on the gravel road watching me intently, and it just a chance to be quiet. And I think sunflowers um, are so expressive.
Yes.
It's almost as if they were bowing to greet me in the morning. I know that's corny, but it was very neat.
um, are all your exposures typically these long exposures?
Yeah, and I've been doing the digital for quite a long time now, and I like to keep some things the same, just so that I can rearrange other things. I I am also my original. I mean, when I first started off, in my youth, I was doing a lot of photojournalism, and then I really fell in love with the view camera. And my view camera work was very deliberate, and so continuing that into the infrared and having long exposures with a tripod in a set situation was not alien to me. It's very comfortable to me. And so it was an easy transfer for me, and I just really enjoy the fact that sometimes you get stuff that you didn't know you were getting. Kind of back to the old days of film when you were developing sheet film and not exactly sure what you were going to get and had your fingers crossed.
That's right. Film days were cross your fingers. That's for sure.
But
Here's an
sometimes,
here's another photograph. It appears that it's um, shorter exposure because the horses that are in the photograph, and I like the way you've done the. I mean, really, the clouds are almost the topic, and then the photograph or the horses and so forth, and you've got the skyline. That's an unusual photograph. Why don't you talk a little bit about this?
um, this is the Wild Horse Sanctuary in South Dakota, and there was this a thing, a barrier that said "Do not enter," and I thought, I'm not going to come back. I've got to enter. So we drove with the equivalent of a quarter mile down, and I saw these, Mustangs up there, and they really. It wasn't a 3 minute exposure because it was about 100 degrees and incredibly hot out, but it was at least a minute and a half exposure, and they just didn't move. And
Wow.
I thanked them for that. Although I was kind of hoping they'd be able to just have a have
they
a redo of the ghost cows, but they were just stationary. But I
at a
really
at 100 degrees, I would imagine they didn't want to move.
no, no.
And here's a landscape. It looks like it's out in the dunes. I'm assuming it looks like there's. Why don't we talk about this one because this is beautifully backlit. I mean, it appears to be backlit.
I am really drawn to things that are backlit, and this was at the beach at Holland, Michigan. We have a small vintage trailer that we bum around in, and this was just off the campground. But I just love the fact that it looked like, if you went through the portal, there would be magical things on the other side. And it's sometimes this doesn't show with traditional pixels. And I think that the infrared gives that little bit of glow that kind of shows you the magic on the other side.
Well, I'm up here in Traverse City, Michigan, and I had thought this looks like it might be the same location or about the same location. We're on the Great
Just
Lakes.
a little bit. This is Grand Haven,
Okay.
Michigan, and the long exposures allow you to get the softening of the water, and um, there's a couple of them. You can see ghost humans walking on the pier, and
Yeah, the interesting thing about this is in my opinion, is the composition. I mean, the way you're, at least my eye, with the bridge, the way it is, if that's a bridge, is drawn immediately to that lighthouse, and then the other lighthouse. The light is just focusing over there, and I mean, compositionally, it's absolutely perfect. And I suppose, not that I'm a rule of thirds geek, but that lighthouse would almost fit exactly in one of the compositional areas, wouldn't it?
absolutely.
Yeah, that's beautiful. God. Okay. Uh-huh. Let's talk about these. Look like obviously some trees in the Badlands again.
No, this is Fenville, Michigan.
Oh,
This is the Fenville wineries,
oh, okay.
and in the spring when they're kind of blooming, and it's just a wonderful place to go and bum around.
Yeah, you know, the thing that impresses me, obviously about other things. I mean, you really do. You have, and maybe it's many years in teaching photography and really seeing photography as art. Really, I mean, compositionally wise, I mean, these are unique photos. They are not something you would normally pick up and see someplace. I mean, your eye is drawn to them right away, and you're looking at them, uh, and compositionally, they're really beautiful. Wow,
Thank you.
yeah, and let's now this. I think you hit the for the last one here. I think you hit the nail right on. I mean, you hit the hammer right on top. I mean, this is. Tell us about this photograph because it's really great. Describe it for the audience, where it's at, and it's so simple but so beautiful.
Thank you. Um, this one of the things, and I know you have Midwest roots, and one of the things I think it happens when you are born and raised in the Midwest is I hear other photographers who I admire and love say, sometimes when I feel blocked, I just go for a walk in the redwoods, or I go and take a walk along the Pacific coast. But when you're in the Midwest, there are the luxuries of going for walks in the redwoods are not really available. One of the things you need to do is what the Midwest lacks in topography, I think it makes up for in atmosphere. And this is smack dab in the middle of Illinois, a little south of Springfield. So flat, it looks like it was run over by a steamroller. But you still are able to uh, just get the Midwest has joy and beauty all of its own without mountains and grandiosity, but sometimes you have to look a little harder. So this is a farm. My husband was photographing. There's a section of Route 66 right there that is made of brick, goes for about maybe a mile and a half to 2 miles. And it's really spectacular. It's not being used anymore, but he photographs a lot of Route 66 stuff. And so when he was doing that, I turned around and went, "Wow, this
Wow.
is this is great." So it just a farm field with two trees and the sun coming from behind like uh, another portal.
Well, you're not kidding. It's mesmerizing for sure, and it's almost spiritual, if I could use that word for it.
Well,
It's
thank you. That's exactly what I hope for.
yeah, that's certainly what you got out of it. Wow. Well, Kathleen, I think we have, as they say, a feast for the eyes for the audience. These are phenomenal photographs. And do you participate? Well, let me drop back to the equipment because, people are always interested in the equipment. What camera did you have converted over to infrared?
Well, part of the reason I was hesitant to have a camera converted over was I use a 5DS Canon full frame, and I love full frame because in the case I have a client or somebody that wants a large image, I like having that option. And uh, I couldn't possibly think of affording such a luxury as to have a full frame camera um, converted over. But after we got back from the Badlands, we did a little investigating, and I bought an old Canon full frame, really old, well, not really old, but old, and had it converted over by this wonderful place, Life Pixel. And
Yes.
they did it reasonably, I think. and I've just been experimenting with it for a week, and I I'm not sure if I'm going to miss the paraphernalia I was used to, but we'll see. But you know, having been a Nikon guy until I went digital, I'm really happy with Canon. And
Okay.
I'm not much of an equipment guy. I just know what works for me.
And finishing up, what do you do for post processing? I mean, what software do you use, or Photoshop, Lightroom? I'm assuming
Yeah,
it can be something.
I'm a Photoshop person, and I just some I don't want to go heavy into philosophies, but being a darkroom chemical user for decades, I don't go in what I consider my raw image to be the primary image, and I go in and try not to futz with it too much in raw, but try to get the very, very best possible image out of my raw image as I can. And then I either just convert it to black and white, or I convert it to black and white, and then sometimes I use uh, a separate uh, uh, add-on called Photo One. Uh, what is it called? Photo One, and just sometimes I'll add a glow, which some is and it's not necessary when you're using infrared. It can kick it up a notch, and but I try. One of my philosophies is I never do anything in Photoshop that I could not do in a chemical darkroom in the tray.
Wow.
So if I know people that will add a whole highlight or subtract a whole tree, or that's just it's a personal philosophy of mine. I stick to what I shot as closely as possible.
Super. Well, Kathleen, I appreciate you coming on the show. I know, and I really do, because I know when someone reaches out to you, on a YouTube thing, and what's this all about, and so forth and so on. But I think we have a lot of great photographers that don't get a chance to show their work on them in anywhere, and they're just as good. In my opinion, it's the work that I've seen through this master series is just as good as anything the old timers did. It's obviously we're to the digital world, but and I think most people post process like you do. They don't do a lot of work, and a lot of them stay fundamentally to the old day, where you don't really do a lot of manipulation on the image. So, but I certainly appreciate you coming on, and the listeners are going to really enjoy this, and the people looking at this on YouTube are going to be especially thrilled.
Thank you. I'm not sure if you'll have this on YouTube, but can I promote my Instagram page?
Oh, absolutely. You certainly can. You certainly can. Okay, Kathleen, you take care of yourself. Have a
Thank
great week.
you so much.
And winter's coming soon, so are you going to hibernate, or?
Uh, I hope not.
Okay. Anyway, the winters are getting warmer, so you can certainly go out and shoot a lot more frequently.
It is, especially now that I have a camera that has everything built in.
Oh, Kathleen, take care of yourself. Have a great, great week.
It's been a pleasure.